Welcome to the Jade Egg Masterclass. So I just want to show you the jade egg before we start. So this is a genuine nephrite jade egg. It is from polar jade. I'll talk a little bit about this at the end. It is top drilled and sideways drilled. So you can see that there is a hole at the top, and that's for stringing the egg for ease of removal, and then also for some other practices. So there are weightlifting practices. And then there's also practices where you would just gently pull on the egg to engage your pelvic floor. So that is the purpose of the hole and the purpose of why you want to string the egg. This is a medium-sized egg, and I've been using this size and this kind of egg for my entire practice. I've never used another kind of egg. So I'm going to just switch to the slides so I can offer the presentation now. Here we go, the Jade Egg Master Class. This is the magic and the mystery of the jade egg, and also the practical wisdom behind the woo. So my preference for teaching is always to look at science first, look at the practicalities first, and then also show that often the science and the practicalities are something that that the woo has intuited already or known already. So I love how they usually kind of complement each other. So today in this class, we're going to be covering what is a jade egg and where did it come from. We'll talk about why this is the yoga that all women need to be practicing. And then we'll also talk a little bit about how to ensure your jade egg practice is safe and pleasurable and also impactful. And then I'll give you some tips for how to get started with your own jade egg practice as well. So a variety of ways to get started, including up to and including working with me privately. So a little bit about me. I'm Robin. I'm a sensuality coach and an embodiment guide. And I support passion-driven women to feel connected to their bodies so they can feel alive and vibrant in and out of the bedroom. I studied the Jade Egg practice with Layla Martin in her year-long 600-hour sex, love, and relationship coaching program. I fell in love with teaching and practicing with the Jade Egg because it does feel so much like yoga. And so it just was a natural practice for me to fall into. I believe that the benefits are tremendous if you choose to explore this practice, and this is both for your sexual health and your overall well-being. So a little bit about the history. So a lot of the jade egg history is more what we would call mythology. There's actually no scientific or archaeological evidence here in the West that the West has been able to find. So essentially the mythology is that this is an ancient Chinese practice for concubines, and they did this practice so that they would be better at sex. And it was to please men, essentially, is the mythology. Now, there have been studies. So Jen Gunter, who you may remember from Goop, Jade Egg fame, she wrote an article when Goop made some claims. So I'm going to talk a lot about the claims that Goop made about the Jade Egg. They said that these were scientific, factual claims, and they got into a lot of trouble for that. Jen Gunter called them out, and so then Jen Gunter went on to, she's the author of the Vagina Bible, if you're curious about her. She's a gynecologist, super smart, super science-based, and I actually have a lot of respect and admiration for the work that she does. And so she did a study with a scientist. Unfortunately, I did not have an opportunity to recheck the scientist that she had worked with on this, but they did a study where they looked in for archaeological evidence, like, so all of the jade artifacts that have been found or cataloged in China, they looked for archaeological evidence of the jade egg practice, or of like the jade egg itself, or something that would resemble a jade egg, and they didn't find anything. So there's no actual archaeological evidence of this. I want to also say that in speaking with someone in our program who is Chinese, she has said that there is a distrust of Western scientists and Westerners in China, that there can be a distrust, and that the jade egg practice in and of itself would be sacred knowledge, sacred wisdom, and may not have even been shared. So what we have in the West here is essentially a mythology that could be true, but I don't think that any of that really matters in so much as we have the practice now. And where it came from, you can think of it as an ancient practice, or you can think of it as a modern practice. And I would say it's very similar to yoga in that way, you know, that the roots or the essence of yoga goes back into ancient times, but the actual practice, the physical practice that we do on the mat in yoga is very new. It's from the 20th century. So, you know, maybe we can think of the jade egg practice like that. And also we can think of the jade egg practice as an evolving practice, just like yoga. So the inspiration in the jade egg practice and a lot of the ways in which we approach our body and the work of the jade egg is based in Taoist practice. And one of the two kind of key areas of Taoist practice that I think are important, especially when working with sexuality or pleasure or embodiment, are first a seasonal approach to life. So the idea that we work in seasons, we run in seasons, and so we have ebbs and flows, and that everything happens in its own time, and that there is a fundamental energy source. So there is a source energy of the you know, that we can be conscious of and feel, and also utilize within our bodies, utilize with intention. And so if you're coming to this having practiced yoga, that would be very similar to prana, and this fundamental energy source is chi, which you may have heard of. So the main teacher that brought the jade egg to the West was a man by the name of Mantak Chia. And he taught a couple of main teachers, so Minka DeVos and Saida Desalet, both studied with Mantak Chia. Minka DeVos is Layla Martin's teacher, who is my teacher. So, you know, these practices, like I said, you know, the lineage of teaching is still fairly new. So much like in yoga, where Krishnamacharya, you know, taught his students, and some of his students, you know, have direct students. So like Punjabi Joyce would have all the Ashtangi students or Iyengar students. And so there, you know, the degrees of separation from the person that brought the teachings to the West were actually, you know, came up with a lot of the practices. And, you know, he learned these from somewhere, we can assume, is fairly new, and the lineage is new. And that means that a lot of the adaptations and a lot of the where the practice is going, I think is, you know, very much in a, you could call it maybe an evolutionary stage. Like it's growing, it's changing, it's evolving, and it's adapting. And each teacher that comes to this practice, including myself, brings their own unique wisdom and transmission to the teachings. And so I hope that as we go through this, you'll see how the jade egg has really just woven into my teachings as a natural extension of what I've always taught, and what I really do believe to be true about our experience. So here are some fundamental aspects of the practice. So the first thing is that the jade egg practice can support having a healthy and vibrant sexuality if the practice is done mindfully and with a teacher who is aware of the physicality of the pelvic floor, who is conscious of doing the practice in a healthy way. It can actually be supportive as well to the pelvic floor and even to your organs. There is an aspect of the practice where we use sexuality to fuel the entire body. So we work with energy. So I talked a little bit about that fundamental energy source. When we're working with the jade egg, we're looking to or working to cultivate Jing energy, this kind of vibrant, luscious life force energy, a soulful energy. And we can actually cultivate that energy in our body. And so the jade egg is a practice to cultivate that energy. And then we can refine that energy into chi energy, nourishing our emotional well-being. And we can refine that energy into shen energy, which can support our spiritual well-being. And then there's also this wonderful bathing of our body in the energy of pleasure, which can be very nourishing overall. The jade egg supports getting into states of ecstasy and pleasure and expansion, so it can support you to expand your definition of what sex or sexuality or sensuality can mean for you. And then the word exorcism sounds a little bit scary when I say that, but essentially the jade egg is a really supportive tool to do cleansing in your body. So anything that feels like it's out of alignment, energies that feel out of alignment, even working to cleanse past lovers or working to cleanse old ideas of oneself. The jade egg is just a beautiful way to bring your body into an alignment with who you, your core essence, your your true self, in the sense that you can use the practice to connect to that aspect of yourself through essentially the meditative, the fact that the practice is such a deeply meditative, still practice. And I say still, I don't mean in your body. I definitely mean still in essence. The effects of a jade egg practice. So here is where we get into some tricky territory. And so I put in brackets at the top that this is anecdotal completely. So the jade egg practice, so I first want to say that my teacher, Layla Martin, is in the process of doing some scientific research into the effects of the jade egg practice, so that we can have some actual science that can back up these things that are written here on this sheet, or on this slide. And so for now, and so this is where Goop and Gwyneth Paltrow's company actually got into a lot of trouble, because when they sold their jade egg, they said, these are all the things that it can help with, and basically made claims that were not necessarily true. And so when you're marketing something, you can't really say like, this is, on a big, like, very well-known website. You can't just do that. So I always like to say that these are things that women have experienced. So these are anecdotal experiences of women, and what they have felt like their jade egg has supported them to heal or to move through or to connect with. And what I want to say as I dive into this aspect of talking about the jade egg is that it actually, the science at this point, to me, although I would love to have it, and I think I'm such a science geek that to me it would be exciting to get this science, it's not necessary, because women's lived experiences are also incredibly valuable and incredibly important, and I think worth talking about. And so that's why I've included these claims here. So the first claim is that women have used the jade egg to heal chronic yeast infections. So working with the jade egg with the intention to heal can support this. Improving prolapse. So my suggestion with prolapse, because some women have done work to shift their experience of prolapse using the jade egg. My suggestion, though, is to do this work in conjunction with a pelvic floor therapist. So somebody who would be supportive of you using the jade egg, but would also be able to guide your journey. So it would be something that you could work with someone who is a jade egg teacher, but then also work in conjunction with someone who is doing the medical work with your pelvic floor. I think it's important to make sure that we're doing our work responsibly, and that we're actually not, myself as a teacher, that I'm not going into areas of work that I'm not qualified to teach. So this is something that I would suggest that you work in conjunction with a therapist. This next one, though, I am completely empowered to teach you, which is an embodied feeling of consent. And I would say that I'm not sure that we need science to prove this one. I think this one is just valuable in and of itself. So one of the aspects of the Jade Egg practice is that we are always asking ourselves for consent to insert the egg. And when we start to do that, at first it might be really unclear, like, does my body want this or not? And we may override that from time to time as well. We may be like, of course my body wants it. I want to do this practice. Like your desire to do it may override like what your body is actually telling you. But over time, you start to become very connected to what a yes feels like in your body. So the signs, the feeling tone, the way that a yes feels is very different than the way a no feels, and is different than the way a maybe feels. And if you can start to become become sensitive to that, not only do you feel this in your sexuality, but you can start to feel this in all areas of your life where you need to make a decision, where you're being asked something. You can just tune in and consult your body. Does this feel like a full-bodied yes? And so one of the things you'll often hear is, what does pussy say? And it truly is an opportunity, and Mama Gina calls it the great pussy in the sky, or GPS. But this is truly an opportunity to tune into your body and learn what your deep intuitive wisdom, what your body desires, and that can really help you to make decisions. The Jade Egg can help support with low libido. So low libido, I'm reading a book now, and I feel like I'm going to have a lot more wisdom around low libido. My understanding now is there are many reasons for low libido, and most common reason is stress. And the way to move through it is actually to be in it, to honor it, but then to also take conscious action and conscious step to move through it. And so one of the things that many people who have low libido, and I'm going to specifically talk about women, is that one of the things that they may experience or feel is just a lack of desire, a lack of not wanting to have sex. And it may be that they have what's called responsive desire. So we kind of have this expectation that desire should just always be there, that spontaneously, if there's an opportunity for sex, we're like, yep, I'm in. But that's not always the case. There may need to be some conditions that happen first in order for, like, a context that feels sexy, in order for desire to start to happen. And what actually fuels desire is pleasure. So it's almost like a cycle in the sense, well, it is a cycle in the sense that you find the thing that triggers a sexy context, your body responds, and then you engage in the sexiness or in the sexual activity, or in something that brings you pleasure. And that connection to pleasure actually can fuel you into wanting more of it, and actually can support you in feeling desire, especially if you drop into a feeling of savoring, like you really, really pay attention to what feels good. That can shift so much for you. And so the Jade Egg practice is really, really about mindfulness and presence and connecting to your body. And one of the best solutions for low libido, low desire, is mindfulness. And that's exactly what the Jade Egg practice is. The Jade Egg, so some women have found that the Jade Egg can support with dryness that's caused by menopause, can counteract vaginal atrophy. So vaginal atrophy might be like an inability to connect or engage, or to be present with your vaginal canal. And I mean, we have this in other places in our body where we just don't use something, we don't connect to it with intentionality or mindfulness, and then it's like it actually takes some concentration to connect to that part of our body. And so the jade egg is a tool that we can use just like we would use a yoga prop, or just like we would use any kind of tool that supports us to bring our mind into our body in a really tangible and real way, to help support awareness and the ability to consciously engage and experience the existence of your vagina, essentially. It can help to heal vulvodynia. So vulvodynia is pain in the entrance of your vagina and your vulva during sex. And there are many reasons for having vulvodynia, from actually like a physical, something that's going on physically, to something that's going on emotionally. And because the jade egg works in the realm of sexuality, which is a physical, an emotional, and a social experience for us, for the most part, this can support us in those two areas, which is the physical healing and the emotional healing, just through the intentionality and just being really conscious and mindful during the practice. And again, like in the same way that a yoga practice would support healing an injury or healing something that's wrong or not, that's not in alignment in your body, the jade egg is essentially a yoga practice that you would use to heal vulvodynia. And again, this is not science. This is intention. This is practice. This is something that women have experienced. And if it's something that you're experiencing, you might find that this practice works for you. And then helps heal numbness in the vagina, vulva. Same thing as experiencing like that vaginal atrophy, just like not connecting, not aware, not able to feel. This using the jade egg can support you to move into a space of feeling more. So the emotional, spiritual effects of the jade egg. So one of the things that I noticed right away when I started working with the jade egg is that I loved my body way more. And I felt really much more comfortable in my body, which is a massive benefit. And I feel like this is not an uncommon experience. Having more and better orgasms, again, something that I experienced, and probably something that most women who use the jade egg, because the intention is to connect to your sexuality more often and in a different way, that is going to change your experience of orgasm. Sacred sexuality. So one of the really potent, powerful things that really draws upon the mythology of using the jade egg is that the jade egg is something that is that can be and should be practiced in a ritualized way. And when I say that, I'm not meaning like, kind of scary rituals. I'm meaning really, really soft, soothing, self-care rituals, where you set up a beautiful space for your practice and it feels sacred and it feels special. And when you do that, you can actually use sex and pleasure to connect to something that feels bigger than yourself, which would be a spiritual experience or even an awakening. Bliss, joy, and happiness. So overall emotional well-being improved with more pleasure. So this is something that I just had mentioned that I'm doing some reading in a book that's the science of this book is showing the neuroscience of pleasure and the neuroscience of good sex. And that actually, if we are looking to heal our emotional well-being, like if we're anxious, if we're burnt out, if we're experiencing even depression, of course, you would always seek support of therapists, seek support even of a psychiatrist or of a doctor, and if medication is necessary, medication is necessary. But in conjunction with the healing that you do within the Western medical system, you can also bring the practice of the jade egg, or the practice of connecting to your sexuality. And honestly, what I loved about this book, it's called Why Good Sex Matters, and the name of the author is Nan Wise. She is a therapist, and she went into neuroscience because what she was noticing is that most, if not all, of her clients who had struggles with emotional well-being, they also had terrible sex. And that if she actually addressed what was going on in their sexuality first, everything else improved. So why not start with the fun stuff? Why not start with the sexuality? And, I've seen that time and time again with my clients as well, is when you work on this deep uh, level of connecting to pleasure and sexuality first, all the other stuff really does fall into place. And that has been my own experience as well. So some women have experienced what's called a Kundalini awakening. So it's a really intense awakening of energy, and even an awakening to a deeper truth through the practice. That's not something I've experienced, but I have heard it's possible. And then also an energy booster. This is absolutely something that I've experienced. So using the egg, using that energy that you cultivate through the practice and letting that move through your body using your breath, it can shift and change the way you feel. And I've experienced that myself for sure. So what is the practice like? So the first thing is that it can train your pelvic floor. And you want to do it responsibly. So there is a 10-minute flow coming up inside this group with that I'll be releasing. I've recorded it, so I'll be editing and releasing it this weekend. So if you're watching this after the weekend or the replay, you're going to absolutely be able to find that flow practice as well. And this practice is a practice to help you to first release tension in your pelvic floor. So the thing about the Jade Egg is that there are some teachers who treat it like a strengthening practice alone, and like doing these like incredible feats of strength with your vagina, which you can do. But like I talk about like this in yoga, is that going to help you live better? Maybe it does, maybe that's a desire that you have in your life, but let's talk about what makes you overall have a better quality of life. And a weak pelvic floor can create problems. It can create problems of prolapse. It can create problems of just like everything kind of out of place in your pelvis, and just overall like that. That is the seat of your core strength. And so to not have integrity there you can really feel that. And so what often happens is the pelvic floor is often tight and weak. That combination means that you cannot recruit the strength even if you tried, because it's too tight. And so adding strengthening onto that can actually worsen the problem. So I believe in responsible use of the Jade Egg. So the strength building practices are not something that I teach until there is an awareness that your pelvic floor is in integrity. And so that means that you're not having problems with prolapse, and that you're not having problems with jumping and peeing. And so it would be that if that were the case, then there would be some stretching work to do, and perhaps even a visit to a pelvic floor therapist is in order if it's becoming problematic. And then if those things are lessened, then you can start to, even if it's very minimal, you can start to strengthen the pelvic floor. And I would say that if you can't get a sense of feeling your pelvic floor, that is probably too tight. And when your pelvic floor is too tight, it impacts everything, including your orgasm. So it's something that if you want to have better orgasms, if you want to have a better sexual experience, you definitely want to do some work with your pelvic floor. So I've included in this group a 10-minute flow that works with the pelvic floor. I also have a longer 20-minute practice that I'll be sharing as well. I'll probably share it with this video. So you definitely want to check that out. So pelvic floor yoga first. And then a responsible Jade Egg teacher is going to balance the strengthening work with the relaxation work. Again, we come to this comparison to yoga. In our yoga practice, we have the concepts of sthira and sukha. So we want to have the strength, the stability, the support, but we also want to have the softness, the ease, and the relaxation. And so we have that balance as well in the Jade Egg practice. The Jade Egg brings sensate focus. So I talked a little bit about this earlier, but the idea that, the egg is a tool that helps you to bring awareness into your body. This is yoga. This is why I say the Jade Egg practice is the yoga practice that all women should be doing. It is a tangible method for healing and integrating sexuality into the body in an easy to understand way. So as a sex coach, I can work with you on mindset. I can work with you on tools. I can work with you on all of these things. But if you don't have the embodied experience, it's not as potent. It's not as transformative as when, we take all of this wonderful healing, awakening work that we do in a coaching session, and we bring it into your body, and you get to feel this in your body, and really it's like, oh yeah, now I feel it. Like I feel what it's like to feel a sense of wholeness, or a sense of pleasure that doesn't link to shame or fear. Once you can start to feel that, it's like, okay, yeah, I get this. I get what's possible for me. And then as a result, you shift the emotional relationship to sexuality and also to your body. And having a regular practice, having a regular practice can support you to remove shame, guilt, and fear, to support you to integrate trauma and judgment, to help you to express pleasure and sexuality in a really celebratory and life-affirming way. So, if you were to leave everything that I've talked about and just recognize that this practice is about a celebration, I think that would be a potent takeaway. And then also there's the fact that you're using a crystal. So my view on crystals is that they are powerful tools to support what's already present within you. So I never think that something external is ever doing the work. I believe that it's always just enhancing or supporting or allowing you to connect to something that you already have access to, but the tool is just a way to do it. And it adds that element of tangibility to it, which I think is really important for our minds, to just like, okay, this is helping me to awaken something within me. And you have this tool that is like it's like having a friend. You can go it alone, but having a friend is better. And that's kind of how I would view working with a crystal. It's like, I could go it alone, but I've got this friend who's here, and I know they're holding me and supporting me and bringing this quality that I already have inside of me to the forefront. So if you were to buy one of these lovely eggs, my suggestion is to purchase from a company called Polar Jade. They are a Canadian company. You can find them on Amazon if you're not Amazon adverse, or you can order directly from their website, which is, I believe, Polar Jade. If you Google that, you will find them. And I'm always happy to share some links as well. And they're about $80 each. You definitely want to make sure that you're using genuine nephrite jade. So you can see in the picture, it's a dark green jade, obsidian, or glass eggs for internal practice. So those are the ones that are stable enough. So you will see rose quartz eggs and all sorts of other crystals. So rose quartz is actually porous. So the claims that Jen Gunter made about the practice potentially being unsafe or potentially being a situation in which you could experience oh gosh, now I've forgotten the name of that, toxic shock syndrome. The jade stone in and of itself isn't porous. It's smooth. It's like glass. It's safe to use. And as long as you're cleaning it regularly and taking good care of it. So anytime you are working with an egg, just making sure that you do properly sterilize by boiling it or making sure that you clean it between uses. that it is safe to use. But I would say some of these other stones that are more porous are not so safe to use. And I would recommend against using anything other than jade or obsidian or glass for internal practice. If you're using something else, just be mindful. Just be really mindful of it. And I think, the jade, the thing with the jade is if you're looking for a crystal that's kind of like does all the things you want a crystal to do, jade really is. It's really nourishing. It's really healing. It's really supportive. It's energizing. It's got all of the qualities that you would want a crystal to have. So, and then, if you're looking to be someone who is more conscious of the environment, I mean, that jade and obsidian are coming from the earth. Like we're actually, we're mining for these. And so there are environmental impacts of mining, and we don't always necessarily know the source of the jade. The glass eggs would be a great option, right? Because glass eggs are something that can be made in a way that is conscious of the environment and conscious of not taking from the earth. So that's something you might want to consider. And where you would find glass eggs, I think, is an eternal quest that we're all, as teachers of Jade Egg, looking to solve and support you with. So stay tuned with that one. If you're going to start with an egg, use a medium-sized egg. So like the one I showed you at the beginning of this practice, medium-sized egg. And then if you're planning to string your egg, which I would suggest making sure that you can, just using the top sideways drill. So when you're looking or when you're searching on Polar Jade or on Amazon, you would look for medium-sized nephrite jade egg, top sideways drill, and you'll find the right egg. You also want to purchase some unwaxed, unflavored dental floss. I find that they just don't have that kind of dental floss at the store here. They are always either waxed or flavored, but I have found ordering on Amazon or even from a health food store, you can get more natural dental flosses. So there are some counterindications, like reasons why you would not want to do the Jade Egg practice. So some of these are, it's not suggested that you practice during your heavy flow days, so during your period, and it's really simple. It's actually very much the same reasoning why you wouldn't want to do inversions on heavy flow days, which is that we're looking for the energy to be our period is energy moving out of our body, right? We're releasing. And the Jade Egg brings energy into the body. So you're actually counteracting the period by using your Jade Egg when you are bleeding. So it's just suggested not to use your practice. It is also suggested that you not use the Jade Egg if you're pregnant. I don't know the science behind that, but I just know that if this is a precaution that has, that is something that everyone is quite certain that we should be aware of. I mean, it could just be the chance of a premature labor with the hormonal release that happens when you're engaged in something very pleasurable or orgasmic, right? So there's reasons, and I would suggest just not using the Jade Egg. You can do the thing is that you can do the practices without the egg. If you have an active yeast infection or an STI outbreak, you should not use the Jade Egg. Again, you're not wanting to bring energy to the yeast infection or to the STI. You don't want to bring energy into that. You're wanting to heal it. So that is something you would be careful of. And then if you have severe prolapse, of course, you want to consult your doctor first. So how to get started, how to do this practice. So you can do the practice on your own. And this is something that you're more than welcome to just experiment with. So my suggestion is to get yourself an egg and to become familiar with it, become familiar with inserting it, become familiar with asking for a consent from your body when you insert the egg. And just seeking, you can Google, you can ask me, are there any tips? Like I can absolutely give you tips. I know that many of my colleagues have, I know Tamara, who is one of the teachers inside the Radiant Life membership. She's also part of the Radiant Life community, you're more than welcome to message her. I know that she has some beginners level work and even courses available. And many of my colleagues have courses available. I do not have a course available. I do have course material available that I'm more than willing to support you with, but I don't have a course at this point. It's just not in the cards for me. But the egg will be roughly $80. So, I mean, you can get started for as much as it costs to purchase an egg to $500. So most courses run around the $300 to $500 for a simple Jade Egg course. So that might be something. And if you want some suggestions for courses, I can offer you some suggestions. If you want to go the intense route where you work on the more emotional and psychological and the deeper aspects of healing around your sexuality, then you might want to work with me privately. So we can do 3 months of Jade Egg guidance. So it'd be one Jade Egg session and then one coaching session. And I charge $3,000 for 3 months of coaching with me. And there's tax on top of that. So that's just gives you an idea of like the range of how much you would pay for support. Working with me privately obviously is a deeper and more comprehensive experience than guiding yourself through, and you can see that reflected in the price, and then you get access to my level of expertise, wisdom, and unique transmission. I do have a group program where we work with the Jade Egg. It's called Radiant Woman. My intention is to run that program in April, and the price is to be announced, but it will be roughly around $2,000 depending on sort of what I feel I'm going to include in that. So that is coming. And I'm looking at a spring launch for that. So that's something that you can absolutely set on your sites and start saving up for if you're curious. And it is a group program, but it feels like a one-on-one experience. And then there's the energy practices. So there's always foundational work with the Jade Egg. We don't just dive in. There are energy practices and foundational practices that support your body into a space where it can really work with the Jade Egg in a really potent and powerful way. Those are actually, so many of you, I am sure, have already done my Soothe and Nourish 5-day course, which is available on Kajabi. If you haven't done it, just let me know and I can add you into the course so you can give it a try. And it's free. And it's just 5 practices over 5 days that support you to start some of the foundation work with the Jade Egg. And then if you want, you can go into the deeper work. So this is more of a self-coaching experience in January. It's called Ignite Your Desire. And I'm going to actually run it live starting in January. I still haven't decided if it's going to be 8 weeks or 16 weeks long. I'm thinking it'll probably be a 16-week journey that we take together. And you won't need an egg. We won't be actually working with the egg. It's $197, and that will lay the foundation that if you do decide to do Radiant Women or deeper coaching or work on your own, you'll have this really powerful, beautiful foundation to start the practice from. All right, so now it's time for questions if you have any. I'm just going to stop the share, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your questions. Hey, Kat, I see that you've joined here. Kat, do you have a Jade Egg course in the works? Do you have like intro stuff at all? I can't remember if you do, but if you do, Kat's also a resource. She's also a Jade Egg coach. So we need to stick together as Jade Egg peeps. I'm going to just put my video on so you can see me. Hello. In the works. Kat's got something in the works. So awesome. There's, and Kat's Pleasure Flow class inside the membership is actually, yeah, there, see, we're on this area. Pleasure Flow class is, again, it's that foundational work of the Jade Egg, which I think is a great place to start. And I think you could wear your jade egg in Cat's Pleasure Flow class, and it would be a great way to even engage with the practice too. So there's lots of just really great ways to do this work. So Kara, do you have any questions? And then those who are watching the replay, which I know a lot of you have opted for replay, which is totally cool. If you're watching the replay, your questions can actually go into the comments, or if you're like, I don't really feel okay or comfortable asking questions, you know, in the group, which is a safe space to do that, you can. Just send me an email, just reply to any email that I've ever sent you and ask me, or robin@robinjoy.ca, and ask me questions. You can private message me. You can private message Kat. You can private message Tamara. All three of us have the same Jade Egg training, and we were all in Mexico together to receive the transmission of the practice as well. So you know, we've got a great group of support for anyone who wants to engage with the Jade Egg practice just right here in our community. So not only inside the Radiant Life membership, like the paid membership, but also in the larger community, if Kat can figure out Mighty Networks, that is. So, but you must have, because you're here, unless you use the link in the email I sent you earlier. So any questions, any thoughts? Is there anything that we need to? Yay, okay, awesome. So Kat has figured it out, so you can find her in there if you need to. Yeah, that's it. So if you have questions, you know where to go, reach out to us. And I'm so excited to support you in whatever way you want to work with this practice. This is really just I have received such tremendous benefit from the practice, and for me to support you is great. Luna beads. Okay, so I think I actually have Luna beads. I think I might have bought those. Are they like kind of like they're round and they've got like a little like kind of ball on the inside, and then there's like a string? I don't think I have it here. I think it's out like a collection of toys in my in my thing here. Oh no, I don't. But yeah, okay. Yeah, you could, you know what I use my Luna beads for now is a weight for my Jade Egg. When I'm doing weightlifting, I just tie it onto the bottom of the Jade Egg, and then it's like a weight because they're weighted a little bit, right? You can get, but yes, oh, my internet connection. Hopefully you don't lose me. It should not be unstable. I'm getting a new modem today because the internet has been shit lately. Anyway, okay, you got the yes. Okay. I think you could do, it's smaller. So, but I don't think that matters. Like, I totally think if you had Luna beads, you could do the same practice with the Luna bead and probably receive as much benefit from it for sure. And I don't think like, the fact that, like, if you really like crystals and, then the jade is important. And I do think like that the jade has this beautiful quality, and then the mythology, like there's something really special about that. But yeah, absolutely. If you were just curious about starting to, to engage with practices, and because that was actually with the Luna beads, I got them. I was like, well, what the heck do I do? Like, and I never used them. And, and now I just use them as a weight, but that yeah, like it was, you sort of get the sense like, okay, this is something I need to work on. Yeah, crystal is the ultimate for sure. So that is that. Reach out if, and I don't know if Kat or Tamara have eggs for sale or not. Kat, do you have eggs for sale? I don't know if Tamara does or not. But you do? Okay. So if you're looking for eggs, go to Kat, buy them from her. I'm assuming you'll ship them. And they would be I'm assuming, Kat, you got the Polar Jade ones because we all do. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So you can, yay. So there you go. And then I also, oh my gosh, Lisa Latwin is also in this group, and you'll find her in the Radiant Life community. And Lisa Latwin, I know, has eggs for sale too, and Tamara does too. And she also, so I'm going to tag Lisa, Tamara, and Kat in the replay so you can connect with any of them. Really just depending on where you are, I suppose. Lisa's in Edmonton, but I know that Lisa has a little package where you can buy a jade egg, and then you can buy and then with it comes a practice and like a thing to get started. So lots of really, like, you have your choice of jade egg coaches in this community. That's all I got to say. Aren't we awesome? All right, I'm going to shut up now. Add your comments. Yes, pussy power. Add your comments and add your thoughts, and we will keep this conversation going. There's lots of ways for you to engage with this work, obviously. So, woohoo! Thank you. Have a great day.